Okay, the time is 7 o'clock. We're gonna start our public hearing. Is everyone signed the sign-in sheet, everyone? Okay. And do we have any citizen input concerning this public hearing? Look like anybody? Okay. So what we're doing is we're considering amending the Planning and Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 12, Article 3, referring to the zoning districts established relating to the use and development of tiny house parks in planned development district, and amending single family for SF4 to allow a single family dwelling district for miniature housing or tiny houses, and amending manufacturing housing code Park District MH to allow a single family dwelling district for miniature housing, tiny house, and amend the definition of tiny house in Chapter 12, Article 12. Definitions, adopting development regulations, providing for conflict resolution clause, providing for several service ability clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. The second item on our public hearing is to consider a rezone for property owned by Greg Sprinkle, located at 1052 East Highway 276 in the city of West Tawakoni, Texas. A0418 Haskell Zachariah, Tract 3, Acres 2, Zone FF2, and the request is to rezone to commercial. Anyone have any comments or statements they want to make about these two things? Red?
Yeah, just on the SF4, it was discussed, and just one thing I forgot to bring up earlier was that it would seem to me in the SF4 that some of the lots there are too small to be buildable. And instead of making the whole zone for tiny homes, I was thinking that would seem more appropriate. That would be in terms of a variance for those lots instead of creating for the entire zone. I don't know what the zone looks like. I don't know what other houses out there, but I don't know how those houses would be impacted by tiny homes next to them. But of course, if there's lots that are too small, that would be a good needs-based variance.
Shannon, you want to address
So you can issue a variance on those lots. It has to be a need, not a want.
Oh, that's right.
And a hardship is only created if it is done after you purchase the lot. So with it already zoned, anyone who purchased the lot now, that comes with it. There's not a created hardship. So you couldn't actually issue a variance on those lots.
I take it back. I remember now.
Yeah, I think that's actually to protect our citizens that are living in areas, single family homes. They may not want a tiny home built next door to them. So I think that's actually a protection for our citizens. Any other comments on?
I have a question.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
Shannon. I read through all this. That's very lengthy and very specific. Am I reading this correctly? These houses are to be constructed on a foundation?
They have to be on a permanent foundation, whether it is concrete or pier and beam. No wheels allowed. Has to be tied down just like any other normal build would be. So they have to withstand the wind ratings, all the electrical, the plumbing, everything has to be to spec as if you were building a new home.
It's almost the same requirements as what you have for mobile homes.
Okay. Because there's
It's
things in here
literally
that they've got
just in a
specific, like about how
downscale.
far apart the rungs on a loft ladder can be. And I mean, I read all of it. It's very specific. Is it possible that they will have tiny homes that won't meet these specifications?
Not,
And who's gonna
I mean, it would
inspect
have
them?
to meet those specifications to be here, but those are per the International Building Code specifications.
Will we have somebody that will go and check on them to make sure that?
Bureau Veritas does all those inspections.
They will?
yes.
And I would say even if it is a tiny home, if they take the wheels off and they put the hurricane straps and they need all those, it is a possibility.
I mean, those even have to be built to specific spec.
And where are we allowing these to go?
So we put them in 3 places. Planned development, which is heavily restricted. So if you were to buy a huge plot of land, then there's very specific things they would have to meet, fencing between them, a certain amount of area, certain size homes, shrubbery. They have to have a certain amount of common area for certain amount of square footage for common area for every home there. Washaterias, everything they would need to self-suffice there. And then we put them in manufactured parks, and then SF4, which already allows for stick-built or manufactured. And I chose SF4, 1, because we already allow a variety.
Okay.
And 2, they tend to have, some of those zones tend to have lots that are not buildable or able to put a manufactured home on because they're too small. So what the tiny home would allow is it can actually face a different direction and still have the door at the road, or it can be smaller and still fit on the lot and meet our restrictions. But they all have to be on permanent foundations.
Will each one have their own separate water meter? That's for you, Mike. Will they?
It should, yeah, so planned development, they would all have their individual city services.
Okay,
And planned development, if I'm not mistaken, actually has to go through the council also
Okay,
for
yeah.
approval.
Do we have any areas that are being considered for that specifically?
Specifically, no, but I have had some realtors call about some properties in SF4 locations, mainly over here, off of like, Navajo, Vanceville, where the lots are too small, so mobile homes wouldn't work, manufactured wouldn't work, but these would. And the benefit to that is some of these lots aren't taken care of because you can't put a house on them, so people just chalk it up to,
right.
and if we can get some homes on them, maybe they'll maintain them a little more too.
I think the issue is some of those lots, they had houses on them before, back before we had these ordinances and setbacks and all this stuff, that now those kind of mess up the lot. So,
Well, good
But
job
there's,
on
there's a
this.
lot of people, I've personally had people ask me, hey, do y'all allow tiny homes? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
we don't. And then she was saying that she had people coming in down here. And
I do get a lot of requests for it, and we've actually had some developers that would fall in that planned development category that have asked.
correct me if I'm wrong, but you brought this up in a council meeting at one point, and you even had some conversations with Mac about it,
Mhm.
and then that's where this all started, so. I mean, it's definitely nothing new, but something you've been working on. I think you did a great job.
Yeah, you
Yes,
did.
very much
You
so.
really did.
Do we have any other comments or questions? Okay. If not, then we're gonna go ahead and go to our regular session. Time.
We still have to do the rezone.
Number 5.
He's number 5 on the. Regular.
He's on the hearing also.
Public hearing as well.
Yeah.
He's on there too.
But I think, isn't he on the regular meeting also?
Well, they both are.
They both are, yeah. So we'll, unless you want to say something now, Greg.
I'm good.
Okay. So we'll go to our regular meeting then. It is 7:09. If we could stand for our invocation of pledge of allegiance.
Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here tonight. We are truly grateful for having the privilege to serve our city. We pray, Father, that as we discuss our agenda and make decisions for our city, keep us mindful that we must put our citizens' interests above our own. Father, I pray that we will have a productive meeting and that we can discuss important issues and reach effective solutions that will benefit our people and glorify your name. Father, we pray for the city of Allen. Please, Lord, give them your strength and comfort in the days ahead as they search for answers to the tragic event that happened this weekend. and watch over our city and all of us and keep us safe. Please grant us your mercies and love. We ask all these things in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so, any announcements? We have a big one Saturday. We have Market on the Lake, and they also have a fishing tournament on Saturday.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna speak on. I just so happened to be here at the city hall today and we talked about it, and the guys got, just sitting in front of y'all. That's what your fishing tournament's gonna look like. They're gonna have some events too, quite a few events, a couple bounce houses. I think the fire department's heavily involved, what it sounds like talking to Mikey Klein today. So there's a lot going on. There's also the 5K race that's across the bridge for East Tawakoni. That'll be going on Saturday as well from 8 to probably around 12-ish usually. Then you got the market. What else? There's something else that's going on.
Mother's Day Sunday.
Well, yeah, you got Mother's Day.
Yes, don't forget Mother's Day.
So we all got to think about, well, our town and the town across is going to be pretty busy, right? And one thing that everybody needs to think about is your eastbound is probably going to get a little bit backed up at times maybe because there's only going to be one lane on the bridge. So just everybody take caution, be mindful of others, and hopefully we'll have a good time in our city and our neighboring city.
So yes, it looks like they're gonna really have a good time. Friday night, they're gonna have a band on stage from 7 to 10. Saturday, like we said, the Market on the Lake will be going on. They'll also be doing some karaoke, looks like from 11 to 2, 2:40 to 2:45. They'll have bounce houses all day on Saturday. Mules pulling wagons, keg throw, a lot of things going on along with the fishing tournament. So bring your kids out, bring your families, come see our town.
I think the weigh-in for the kids is at 3:00.
Yes.
So any of us that can support that, that'd probably be really awesome for the kids. But I think their weigh-in is at 3:00.
Cool.
That's Friday and Saturday, right? It's a 2-day event, right?
Well, they'll just
Parts of it start on Friday.
They'll just have the weigh-in on Saturday. I think it's like a 24-hour tournament, so they can actually fish that.
Yeah, it starts Friday night.
And then they'll have one weigh-in, which is 3:00. for the
Because it
kids.
says a band on stage at 7 from 7 to 10 on Friday.
Right. And I think that's why they're having all that, is because it's technically like a 24-hour, they can not fish, I mean, they can fish for 24 hours.
Alternate plan, face of the rain.
Yes, a lot of rain forecast.
Yeah, I mean, if there's rain and lightning, they're definitely gonna end up postponing it. I mean, they just have no choice.
We'll see how it goes.
Hopefully there's not a lot of rain and lightning. It'd be cool to have for the kids.
Okay, so any other announcements? Okay, any citizens input related to the agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
I had a question on old business, discuss and/or action for Tawakoni Fire Department to assume all responsibilities for Market on the Lake.
What was your question, Debbie?
Well, I listened to the last meeting y'all had, and it sounded something like you were revising a resolution. You have a resolution tab on the website, but you don't have not one single resolution listed. Go to that to see what was said about it. Are you gonna, I'm just confused on how it's gonna be handled. like minutes and agendas for every month, and so do the other organizations. So what's different?
Right at the moment, I can't really answer anything, because, the laws won't let me answer anything
Okay,
for you on that. But as we go through the meeting, we might get some answers as we're going through, okay, Debbie?
okay. And I also just want to mention that the last city council minutes that are on the website is August 9th, 2022. We're almost 6 months into 2023. You go to Quinlan and they're only a month behind on any minutes, any group. I don't understand why nothing's ever updated.
Are you on the new website, Debbie?
Yep.
We'll-
The EDC, your last minutes that are posted on the website is February the 6th of this year. And then I also had a question about your last number, because I listen to y'all's meetings too.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's EDC, your 5-year plan. I haven't heard anything mentioned at your EDC meetings, what your plan is. So this is all new. How you voting on something that citizens know nothing about?
Once it's approved by city council, then we can, give it out to the citizens. But until then, we can't do anything about it.
Well, it kind of looks like you need citizen input for you starting approving stuff. To me, that's just common sense.
I'm sorry, I can't answer anymore.
Okay.
Sorry. Red?
This kind of ties in, and I think it actually kind of ties in to the first one when I first started coming to these back in December. And I think the workshop we had a couple months ago was really good discussion. The town hall meeting we had was a really good discussion. But I think I finally started to figure out, because I know we talk about it, and everyone agrees, everybody nods their heads, but I don't ever see any action items come out of these types of things. And I know from previous discussions I've had with individuals, I think I finally realized that sometimes I think I'm speaking a different language. I'm thinking like a manager, project manager. And my suggestion is that I did some research on it, different functions and roles and responsibilities of small towns. I think we need a project manager. I just don't see anything ever changing after witnessing this stuff for the last 7 months without one. I just don't see it. So it's my input.
This isn't on the agenda, but when I listen to y'all on the computer and I hear you bad mouthing the citizens, I get really mad. That's why I showed up at the council meeting last time, because you don't have any business talking bad about the citizens, because we're the ones that put you there.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Any other discussion before we go on? Okay. All right, so we'll go to our consent agenda, which is approval of minutes, approval of bills paid and those to be paid, approval of financial reports, court report, police department report, public works work order, public works reports, permit reports, code enforcement report, EDC minutes, KW, Keep West Property Beautiful minutes, and planning and zoning minutes. There are none. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Question?
I had a question.
Well, you can do
Yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay.
Go ahead, you have
Ask
a
it.
question?
Oh, I know what it was. Mike, are we still doing chemical treatment on the water?
You mean, are we still doing a chlorine conversion?
Yes.
We have started converting back as of this past Monday. We'll be converted back within, it takes about anywhere from 7 to 10 days.
Awesome.
Talking about yesterday, Monday yesterday.
No, I'm sorry, Monday last week. I'm sorry.
Okay,
We started last week, so
good.
we're talking 3, 4, maybe 5 days tops, and we'll be done. We'll be back to the normal chloramine versus just free chlorine.
Because I saw your chemical charges on yeah, that's expensive to do that, I know.
Well, the chemical has went up
Yeah,
It's gone up over 40%.
so
Yeah.
considerably.
that's expensive.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
All right.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. I'll say it.
Okay.
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Robin
Pam
Myers.
Reed.
Oh, sorry. Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
All right, old business, discussion and or take action for Tawakoni Fire Department to assume all responsibilities for market on the lake.
So the mayor contacted me shortly after our last meeting and he brought this up. He did not go into a lot of detail. And without him being here, I would like to make a motion that we table this till we know more of what he's thinking.
You have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
Okay, go on to, new business. Again, we've already kind of read that ordinance, so I'm not going to read it again, but, discussion or take action to approve the first reading of ordinance 301-59-2023 for the planning and zoning referring to, tiny houses. Any discussion? Okay, Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance 301-5-9-2023 for the tiny houses.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston,
Leon Meyer,
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
And again, Shannon, it was really good. I read every word of it. Really good. Okay, discussion and or take action to consider a rezone for property owned by Greg Sprinkle located at 1052 East Highway 276. Chair, any discussion on this?
has everybody kind of dove into it and understood what they're trying to do there?
Yes.
Could you kind of explain
You
to
want-
us maybe what
tell
your
us what you
plans
wanna
are
do?
for that?
Sure. Building a couple buildings for boat storage for me personally. And then I'm developing that in the process that in the event I sell it in the future, my wife and I will move down here in the next couple of years and retire here. We have a house in Indian Oaks already, and it's just up the street. And then I'm developing it so that I can, in the event that I ever do sell it, that it'll be a commercial property. And then there's 1.5 acres of it that's left over. That doesn't include, although it does include, the survey includes Waterline Road and part of that church. I'm gonna donate that to the church in the city
Okay.
and get that out of my
That was my
responsibility. And,
Okay.
and then, develop the 1.5 acres that's left over. Taking all suggestions on what to develop it into. Probably, but definitely the buildings that I'm building are gonna be for a commercial business in the future, but they'll be for my personal use.
So you're not gonna be residing on it in any way, we'll have it like a guest house or anything?
So I don't know about that. It'll have a shop, and then the upstairs part of the shop will have an apartment of some kind in it. It'll have a 26 by 40 open area room, much like our house we have a house between Levon and Rockwall now that has a shop in back, and it has a 600 square foot room that my grandkids play in.
Okay.
So I don't want to say there's not going to be a nap bed up there somewhere at some time. It will have a bathroom. It'll have a bathroom and that kind of stuff. So I don't want to have to drive 500 yards to go to the bathroom.
So the other thing to remember when you're discussing that is you can always go greater to lesser, but not lesser to greater. Meaning commercial can be used for residential, but residential cannot be used for commercial.
Okay.
So being zoned residential right now, it can't be used for commercial ever. So if we rezone it to commercial, then it can be used for either.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other discussion?
The one cool thing about it is it adds commercial property to our highway.
It does.
And thank you for donating that property to the church.
Somebody help me figure out how to do it. I haven't quite got to that part
That man right there.
yet. I don't know how to do, so I gotta figure, I know I have to have it resurveyed, which is gonna, be a challenge because I'm gonna have to pay to have it resurveyed. But then once I get it resurveyed, I just assume not own the street, so.
Yeah, did everybody notice that when they were looking at that? I
Yes.
mean, how far over it went?
Yes.
It actually goes into their building, doesn't
It
it?
does. It's about 2 foot, about 2 foot of the church building, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be my biggest tax deduction of my lifetime. Because that church building's worth about $17 million right now. And I'm giving them 5% of that. That's what the IRS, that's the story I'm telling the IRS. Ooh, shh. That's an estimate. That's an estimate right there.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider a rezone property owned by, at, the location, 1052 East Highway 276. Is there anything else I need to add to that?
I'll second
Be
the motion.
zoned.
Okay.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Myers,
Pam Reed.
Robin Myers.
Chris Burkett.
All right, it's done.
you're in, Greg.
Awesome.
You're in, Greg. Okay,
Trucks will be there in the morning.
okay, next thing is discussion and our action to approve the first reading of 30259/2023 of the city of West Tawakoni, Texas, providing that leaving or depositing building materials prohibited, dumpsters required for construction sites, owners or contractors required to keep construction sites clear of litter. Any discussion?
I have one question here. On the first actual sentence of the ordinance, it says that the contractor must contract through sanitation solutions. And I don't have anything against sanitation solutions, but honestly, I make that quite clear. But if you should decide to contract with another sanitation company in the future, will we have to amend this ordinance and remove Sanitation Solutions' name out of that?
Yeah, on second reading.
Could we make it a little more
We
generic?
can make it generic. We can make it with the company that we have.
Contracted.
The exclusive, our exclusive
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
On second reading.
We could just change it and say must get the dumpster from
Right.
the contracted, city contracted, sanitation.
Sanitation company. yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a question about that too. You know, there's a lot of other companies around that are cheaper sometimes. than
Yeah,
our
but at the end of the day, right now, we already have an ordinance in place in our city that if you get a dumpster, you're supposed to use sanitation solutions. That's already a current ordinance.
Okay.
Our contract has an exclusivity provision in it.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of dumpsters come into the city. I mean, there was one next door to my house one time. And I went over and told the guy, I said, I don't know if anything can happen or will happen. I said, just let you know, the city does have an ordinance. I mean, I wouldn't have known this probably if I hadn't been on the council. I'm just telling you,
Okay, so we already have an ordinance that says that. Okay.
yes.
But I mean, do y'all think it's a good idea to make that more generic in case I think that's kind of being proactive here.
Yeah, we can do that. On the second reading.
We'll do that.
We'll do that on second reading.
Okay. So any other comments about the facilities that we want to make at this point?
I think it's needed.
I do too.
Keeps the city clean. I mean, a lot of these job sites look terrible.
Yes,
All
they do.
right.
I own a house on Cove and on
Trash
Hemlock.
goes all over, and they leave boxes and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
trash goes all over.
I
We live, we live,
Well, and that's not even the problem. I mean, we straight up have mounds of trash from builders just piled up on the properties, because I have some builders that are very good about getting dumpsters, and I have some not so much.
That's
With
two blocks over.
with the rains that we've had, a lot of this stuff starts flooding down ditches.
yeah, that's near my house.
Yeah, no, this is not near your house. This is about, this
Well,
is
that's-
2 blocks over from me.
That's
Oh,
in
that
the,
looks
that's in
like
the
the
banner.
one that's in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
that's in the banner. ditch.
That's a question for
So,
code enforcement,
anyway.
Shannon.
I've
If
already
you
got
see a
notices
situation
out on them.
like that, can you fine them for
I
doing
can,
that?
I have to notice them just like I would anybody else for debris, but I will tell you, all of those that he's looking at, Red Oak and Hemlock and Indian Oaks, and they've already got notices out. I'm just waiting on that time limit to run, and I'm gonna start taking.
Okay, so, Chair, I entertain a motion then.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading of the ordinance 302-5-9-2023, with the exception that on our second reading, we do make the provisions to make it generic for the disposal company.
The one the contractor.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston.
Leon Meyer.
Pam Reed.
Robin Meyer?
Chris Burkett.
All right. The next item is discussion and or take action to approve the West Tawakoni Economic Development 5-year plan.
You said there, I don't think you're supposed to vote.
Oh, no, she can vote. No,
she
can vote.
Oh, she
I
voted.
just didn't want us to mess
was,
it up.
I thought you said she was supposed to, so
I'm not-
I said, I guess you didn't.
We're not even to that yet. But Allison, I'm gonna let you go ahead and
Okay,
That's these
I
are-
had some computer trouble today. Apparently the little part that it goes plugged into quit working in the middle of printing these out. So I only got 3 copies of them. But if you can share, that would be great. I'll make sure to get us some more of these. I don't have one.
I already have one. I'm sorry.
There you go. Okay, so, to answer one of the questions that they had earlier as far as the citizens' input, every time that we've had it on the agenda for the EDC, we have invited the citizens to come and I've asked for input. Since I wasn't able to get anyone in attendance, then I took it off of social media sites. Every comment that was made in the past 3 years was taken into account, whether good or bad, it didn't matter. So I hope that helps a little bit with that. And then if you just want me to go over it or, okay. So the 5-year plan. You just, first you'll have the cover page, of course, and then there's the index that'll tell you everything that's in here. We got the qualifications for, my qualifications for doing the analysis. Do you want me to read all of these? Okay, I didn't think so. So, creating a strategic plan for sustainable growth in West Tawakoni. To ensure a prosperous future for West Tawakoni, it's essential to have a clear and focused plan. The goal is to determine our current standing and envision where we want to be. By setting practical goals and strategies, we can achieve measurable results. The plan will serve as a blueprint for the West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation's purpose and actions. Ultimately, it will pave the way for economic growth and sustainability for of local businesses and enhance the quality of life for West Tawakoni citizens. I'm just gonna go over the major parts, that way I don't have to keep us here all night because it takes a little while. Promoting economic growth and expanding opportunities are key to improving people's quality of life. Therefore, the prosperity of a community is crucial to the well-being of its citizens. The new West Tawakoni Economic Development Corporation vision is to create a sustainable future of economic growth for our community and businesses. The vision is supported by the new mission to enhance our community's well-being and quality of life by attracting and retaining businesses, driving innovation, and creating jobs. We aim to be a proactive partner in economic development by igniting economic growth and fostering a vibrant, healthy, and diverse local economy. By involving community leaders, local businesses, and citizens, we can offer resources, programs, and initiatives that significantly elevate the quality of life in our community. We are diligent in our efforts, accessible to all, and cooperative in our approach. Together, we can create a now and a future of success, I cannot say that word, stability and prosperity for generations to come. The West Tawakoni EDC is set to create a comprehensive strategic plan that will shape its direction for the next 5 years. The plan is composed of 5 main goals and associated strategies to help achieve them. The following 3 goals are aimed at the vision and mission: attracting new businesses by promoting West Tawakoni as a place to bring your business to the lake, where living and working meet reward, to help our current businesses thrive, and to foster an environment to drive innovation. The 4th goal is to ensure accessibility to the knowledge necessary for understanding the process. And the 5th and final goal is to ensure the West Tawakoni EDC can continue to be a vital part of economic growth far into the distant future. As I go over the plan, I ask that you think of how you can help in our efforts to secure a successful future for the community of West Tawakoni. And then it just goes over the history of West Tawakoni and Texas and how West Tawakoni got here. If I had a lot of time, I'd go over it, but it would take a little bit of time. I did include data that I did want to go over for the cities of West Tawakoni, Lone Oak, Quinlan, and Emory. So if you turn to the total population, Tawakoni has the highest population. West Tawakoni has the highest population of 1985. The second is Quinlan with 1420, third Emory with 1254, finally Lone Oak with 631. So we have a lot more people than the other smaller cities around us do. However, the growth rate for each city are relatively stable with the exception of Lone Oak, with an outlier in 2019 in West Tawakoni, which sees a steady rise in growth. Total employment rates, West Tawakoni has a 51% labor force participation, 46.2% employment rate, 10.8% unemployment rate. And then the chart just goes over the years of ages of the people in the workforce. Lone Oak has a 62.5% labor force participation, 59.7% employment rate, 4.4% unemployment rate. Quinlan is 57.3 for local force participation, 53% employment rate, and 7.5 for unemployment rate. And Emory is at 66.8 for participation, 66.1 for employment rate, and 1.1 for unemployment rate. The total poverty rate as a percentage of total population is, well, I didn't put it on this one. West Tawakoni sits at 16.8%. Lone Oak sits at 13%. Quinlan sits at 16.1%, and Emory is at, I think it was 13. I'm sorry. Lone Oak is at 11%, and Emory is at 13.something%. Job market outlook is West Tawakoni, Lone Oak, Quinlan all sit at an increase of 3.2%, while Emory shows a 4.1% job market outlook over the next 10 years. So Emory is winning as far as the next 10 years. They show to be able to create more jobs than the rest of the cities do. And again, going back to what we've been doing at the meetings, we did do a SWOT analysis and a pestle analysis. We did ask for citizens' input. I didn't receive any, again, so I just took what I could find off of the social media sites. I'll just give you a rundown of what the SWOT analysis said. With the changes seen in the last few years, the Economic Development Corporation should focus our efforts on making sure we are doing what we can for our community, and creating a strategic plan will give us a roadmap to do that. The roadmap can take a vision and create actual efforts, I cannot say these words, to its goals. With a strategic plan in place, we can do the following: create a vision of what the community will look like in the future, help us see the big picture of how the economic environment will change, and ensure that everyone shares in West Tawakoni's well-being. From our planning session in November and many weeks of collecting random sample data from online sources, there are key areas to economic success that lay within the SWOT, or strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The data suggests that our strengths are geographical location, Lake Tawakoni, tourism. Weaknesses are workforce competition from nearby more urban areas, limited resources to enhance the city's infrastructure, occasional tension between public offices, and knowledge of UDC rules and regulations. West Tawakoni has many opportunities that can lead themselves to economic development success, and I note that sometimes what a city needs can be seen as opportunities.
So
Those
why
are the
why don't we just get to the goals that
Okay.
we have real quick,
Yes,
because we're kind of losing our audience here.
sorry.
No problem. And they can look
It's
over,
long.
they can look over it again, and we
Okay.
will be publishing some of these books for citizens that are interested.
Okay, so the 5-year SMART goals are: goal 1 is to attract new businesses, goal 2, help current businesses thrive, goal 3, drive innovation, goal 4, accessibility to knowledge, goal 5, sustainable economic organization. So strategy 1 for attracting new businesses, it just goes over, and I'll show you all. And it has steps that we can do to make sure that we are attaining our goals. Meet regularly with local real estate brokers and developers, collaborate with other economic development organizations such as the TEDC, write articles for local media, both in print and social medias.
Don't go over all that.
Okay,
Okay, so I think probably they've got enough to kind of know what we've done there. And see if there's any questions from anyone or discussion.
It's a lot to take in
it is.
in the drop of it on the table. I mean, I this is the first I heard of it when this agenda came out. So without knowing that something like this was even happening, there was no, prepare your mind for it.
I will say that they did ask me for it, a copy, before y'all got your packets, but I was having issues with my computer again, so.
No, and I-
Get those out.
No, and I get it, but I mean, I guess I've never heard it spoken of like ever that I've heard in any of our discussions, workshops maybe we've had, whatever.
Do you not watch the EDC meetings?
I watched some of them, but
Because it's been every one of them since November.
I watched some of them, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, time is not of all essence to do everything. I volunteer
I understand.
in other capacities besides here too, but I don't know. I think that's a lot for us to take in and say we're going to approve it.
I didn't know that they were actually going to either approve or deny today. I thought I was just supposed to be bringing it to you.
I would like to make a suggestion. We table this until we all have time. Number one, we all have a copy of it. Number two, we have time to digest it. Number three, I would like to, in that tabling, make a suggestion that before, when we put this back on the agenda, that maybe we put a 30-minute workshop ahead of our meeting for us to discuss this as a council, and then it's on our regular agenda. Just to kind, you know what I mean?
Are you making that?
Yes.
So I'm gonna second that. I think this is very
That's my
important for the
motion.
city, but we do need a chance to review it and possibly do a workshop. Maybe bring the EDC into that workshop as well. This is
Right.
very important for
And
moving
like
forward, but
I think we could do it in a 30-minute or so workshop, as long as we all have a copy of it and we have time to digest it. I think we could put a workshop in front of our normal meeting, a 30-minute workshop, right? In front of our normal meeting, and then when it's on the agenda, so when we go into that meeting, we've talked about it in a workshop, and then we can actually make a formative decision on what we want to do with it.
it's very important, and you have admit that we had a special workshop and a special meeting.
One thing I do want to make a comment that I would like for everybody, because when I was listening to you, it may not have looked like I was. But one thing I will make a comment is, in doing this analysis that you did, the other towns that were picked,
Have a what?
which a school, and it makes them very different than us. Okay? And there is a whole lot of diversity differences in those towns that were compared to. I'm wondering why we didn't compare East Tawakoni, because that's a little bit the same, because they have some of the same resources that we have. But that is something to think about when you're looking at this, trying to digest it, because the school is something that is sort of a flagship for people when people come to a town, right? And so it may change a little bit of dynamic. is,
If you go
each one of
to
those.
Back of the packet, there is data for that as well. And it breaks it down into education levels, education attainment and.
Well, and what I'm saying is the school being in the city makes that city a different dynamic, maybe not by population,
Right, I got you.
It's a big economic.
but by economic. It changes things quite a bit. Because the school itself is gonna employ 200-300 people.
Right.
So
We're actually not
these
doing
stores
it.
know that, so that's where then these restaurants know that, so that's where they're sort of smart and go, well, let's put something over, within 2, 3, 4, 5 miles of the school, because we've got 400 customers sitting right there getting off work at 4 o'clock.
If you look at the end of the packet data, it does show that even though we don't have a school in our town, that we're actually at the top on economic growth.
Right.
Future.
But anyway, that's my motion, and I think
I second
there was
that.
a second, so.
Okay,
And again, if it needs to be a special workshop and a special meeting, I feel like it's very important for our city, but we do need the chance to review it and really have a workshop on it, so.
all in favor?
Kevin Featherston?
Leon, I,
Pam Reed.
Chris Burkett,
Thank you.
Thank you for putting
thank you
this
for putting it
together.
together. Yes.
I'm sorry I couldn't get to all the.
It's okay.
Okay,
You get a second chance.
Yes.
any citizen input not related to the agenda?
I gripe a lot, what can I say? Can you go down Shenandoah and look at the lots that stay flooded? Are they allowed to leave their land like that comes out, ruins our whole road, and I have to drive through mud every day? When it's a rainy season, when it's raining?
Leave it like where it's flooding or?
Yeah, all those lots are standing there with rotted trees. The people own them, why can't they be responsible for doing something about it?
Okay, all right, Chair, I'll entertain the motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Everybody, everybody. Thank you very much.
Vote on that.
Got a vote?
We don't vote on that.
All in favor?
Kevin Featherston?
Leon, I,
Pam Reed.
Chris Burkett. Yeah, Robin, I got.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, I won't need, so I'll just read it.